Have you ever wondered why every politician promises to fix the economy, yet the economy keeps getting worse? Why every president, no matter their party, their personality, or their intentions, ends up riding the same downward spiral? Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The coming crash isn't political, it isn't partisan, and it isn't something any president, not even Donald Trump, can stop. Not because Trump is weak, not because he's incompetent, not because he doesn't care, but because this crisis is bigger than him, bigger than Washington, bigger than America, and bigger than anything a single leader could ever control. The 2026 crash is already set in motion. And yes, even if Trump wanted to stop it, even if he fought with everything he had, the outcome would be the same. You're about to understand why. And once you do, you'll never look at politics or the economy the same way again. Let's get something straight. Trump is not stupid. He's not blind. He's not clueless about money. In fact, he probably understands the financial system better than most people who work inside it. He understands leverage. He understands debt. He understands assets, liabilities, and economic pressure. But even with all that knowledge, even with the power of the presidency, he's still powerless against what's coming. Why? Because the forces driving this crash aren't political decisions made last year. They aren't policies passed last decade. They aren't mistakes made by Trump or Biden or Obama. They're the result of 50 years of structural decay, slow-moving, compounding, mathematical forces that no president can reverse. This is a runaway train, and the conductor doesn't matter. Reason. Number 1, the debt machine can't be stopped. The United States isn't just in debt. It is drowning in a debt spiral that cannot be slowed, reversed, or escaped. We're now over $36 trillion in national debt, not counting unfunded liabilities, not counting hidden obligations, not counting interest that compounds faster than we can track it. The government brings in around $4.5 trillion per year, but spends far more, leaving a gap so large that the only way to fill it is through borrowing and money printing. Here's the part most Americans don't understand. The government no longer borrows to grow, it borrows to survive. And survival borrowing cannot be stopped, not by Trump, not by Congress, not by anyone. Because the moment the government stops spending, the economy collapses overnight. Remove the deficit, and you remove the artificial heartbeat, keeping everything alive. That's the trap. And every president, no matter who they are, is stuck inside it. Reason number 2, interest payments are the silent killer. Most people have no idea how bad this is. The US now pays over $1 trillion per year just in interest on the debt. Not the debt itself, not paying things off, just interest. That means America now spends more servicing debt than it spends on defense, Medicare, most federal programs combined. And what's worse, as the debt grows, the interest grows with it. This is the financial equivalent of a ticking nuclear bomb. Trump can cut programs. He can cut taxes. He can cut regulations. But he cannot cut interest on $36 trillion. This burden is baked into the system. And it's one of the core reasons why no president can stop what's coming. Reason number 3. The Federal Reserve is trapped. Most people think the president controls the economy. He doesn't. The Federal Reserve does. And the Fed itself is stuck in an impossible dilemma. If it raises rates, the economy crashes. If it lowers rates, inflation explodes. If it prints money, the dollar weakens. If it stops printing, the system collapses from within. There is no good option left. Only bad choices and catastrophic consequences. Think of it like a doctor who overprescribed painkillers for 15 years. Now the patient is addicted. Stopping the drugs will kill them. Continuing the drugs will kill them. The Federal Reserve created this addiction. And now, no president can save the patient. Not Trump. Not anyone. Reason number 4. The baby boomer. Time bomb. This is the demographic disaster nobody, not even Trump, can escape. 10,000 baby boomers retire every single day. That's 3.6 million new retirees per year entering Social Security and Medicare. These programs already cost over $2.4 trillion annually, and they're on pace to bankrupt themselves. In the 1950s, 16 workers supported every retiree. Today, 2.8 workers. By 2030, barely 2. This is a mathematical collapse, not a political problem. No president can create new young workers. No president can reverse time. No president can rewrite demographics. This burden grows every year and accelerates the crash already heading toward us. Reason number 5. The dollar's power is fading. Trump can negotiate. He can pressure. He can threaten. He can bargain, but he cannot force the rest of the world to continue using the US dollar. And the world is already walking away. BRICS nations creating alternative currencies, Saudi Arabia accepting non-dollar payments for oil, China and Russia trading outside the dollar, gold buying hitting historic highs, foreign demand for US debt collapsing. The dollar isn't dying suddenly. It's dying slowly. Exactly how empires fall, and once confidence is lost, it never comes back. No president controls global trust, and that's why no president can stop the next crash. Reason number 6. The commercial real estate collapse. Over $1.5 trillion in commercial real estate debt comes due in the next 2 years. Office buildings are empty, retail is hollowed out, developers can't refinance, banks are exposed, values are collapsing. This isn't a downturn, it's a death spiral. And here's the terrifying part. Regional banks, the backbone of American finance, hold much of this debt. If even a fraction of it defaults, hundreds of banks could fail. Trump cannot force companies to occupy empty buildings. He cannot force banks to magically become solvent. He cannot raise property values by executive order. This collapse is structural, and it is unstoppable. At this point, the picture is becoming clear. Trump isn't the problem. Biden isn't the problem. Democrats aren't the problem. Republicans aren't the problem. The system itself is broken. It took 50 years to build this disaster, and no leader can unwind it in 4, or even 8. This crash is not a political event. It is a mathematical event, and math doesn't negotiate. If you're ready for part 2, which dives into the psychological collapse already underway, the derivatives bomb nobody is prepared for, the global chain reaction that will follow, why the crash will create the greatest wealth transfer in modern history, and what ordinary people must do now to prepare. So now you understand why Trump can't stop the crash, the debt spiral, the broken Federal Reserve, the demographic cliff, the dollar's decline, the commercial real estate implosion, the derivatives time bomb, all of it moving at once like a financial avalanche no president can outrun. But here's where this gets even more terrifying, because everything I've shown you so far explains why the crash is coming. What I'm about to show you now explains why nothing, not Trump, not Congress, not the Federal Reserve, can even slow it down. Reason number 6. The government is addicted to bankruptcy-level spending. Washington isn't simply overspending. It's structurally incapable of stopping. Every president promises fiscal responsibility. Every administration spends more than the last. Every decade, the deficit gets larger. And now, we've passed the mathematical point of no return. The government spends far more than it takes in. And if it ever tried to reverse this trend, even slightly, the entire economy would collapse overnight. Because the economy doesn't run on productivity anymore. It runs on debt. Remove the debt, and the engine stalls instantly. This is why Trump can't stop the crisis. The spending isn't political, it's structural, it's survival. Reason number 7. The Fed is trapped in a no-win scenario. Trump wants lower interest rates. Biden wants lower interest rates. Wall Street wants lower interest rates. But the math makes that impossible. Lower rates risk inflation exploding again. Higher rates guarantee a recession. The Federal Reserve is cornered. and Trump can't free them. If the Fed keeps rates high, the debt becomes unpayable. If they cut rates, inflation reignites and destroys the purchasing power of the dollar. Both paths lead to collapse. Trump can't choose a better option because there isn't one. Reason number 8. Foreign nations have already moved on. This is the part Americans hate hearing, but it's the truth. The rest of the world is preparing for life after the dollar. China, Russia, India, Brazil, they're not planning to de-dollarize. They're already doing it. Oil deals in yuan, cross-border payments using new systems, BRICS building a gold-linked settlement mechanism, central banks buying gold at the fastest rate in 55 years. Trump cannot force these nations back into the dollar system. He cannot reverse their distrust. He cannot rebuild something the world no longer believes in. The dollar's dominance is fading, and once that process begins, it never reverses. Reason number 9. The U.S. economy is built on bubbles. This is harsh, but you know it's true. America's prosperity today is built on inflated asset prices, stocks, real estate, bonds, corporate valuations. Everything is propped up by cheap money that no longer exists. If prices return to reality, pension funds collapse. If stocks fall, consumer spending disappears. If real estate drops, banks fail. Trump understands this. He knows the real economy isn't strong. It's fragile, but he can't admit it, because the minute the truth is acknowledged, the markets panic. He can't deflate the bubbles without triggering a crash. He can't keep inflating them without accelerating the crash. He's stuck. Every president is stuck. Reason number 10. The crash is already in motion. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud. The crash has already started. You can feel it. You can see it. You can smell it in every corner of the economy. Consumer debt at record highs. Inflation still quietly rising. Savings collapsing. Banks tightening credit. Real estate stalling. Layoffs increasing. Corporations drowning in refinancing costs. This is not the beginning of a crisis. This is the middle of one. The avalanche is already rolling. All a president can do now is get out of the way. Trump can't stop this. Biden can't stop this. No president can stop this. The crash is not political. It is mathematical. It is structural. It is historical. And it is already too far gone. But here's the one thing politicians won't tell you. Crises don't just destroy wealth. They also transfer it from the unprepared to the prepared, from the fearful to the strategic, from the emotional to the disciplined, from those who trusted the system to those who studied it. This crash will be no different. If you've made it this far, then you already understand something most people will never grasp. This crisis isn't waiting for permission. It isn't slowing down. And it isn't going to magically fix itself. The crash heading toward us is bigger than politics, bigger than presidents, bigger than whatever headline the media pushes tomorrow morning. This isn't about Trump. This isn't about Biden. This is about a system that's been decaying for decades. One that finally reached the point where no leader, no policy, no speech, and no bold action can reverse the math. But here's the truth the news will never tell you. Crises don't just destroy wealth. They also create it. Not for everyone, but for the people who are aware, prepared, and awake, while everyone else is distracted. So, before you go, tell me in the comments what you're doing to prepare. Are you building cash, buying hard assets, paying down debt, diversifying income? I want to hear your strategy, because your comment might help someone else wake up. And if you want videos that cut through the noise and show you what's actually happening behind the curtain, then make sure you subscribe. The next chapter is coming fast. Don't face it alone.